Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive into the mind of Mikhail Bakunin.
Okay.
We're going to be looking at excerpts from God and the State,
Hey, Rick.
which is this really fascinating mix of like philosophy,
Yeah.
history, and just this fiery critique of authority.
Yeah.
And we had some requests from listeners to break down Bakunin's main arguments,
Right.
especially his ideas about how God and the state and individual liberty all connect.
Yeah. So right off the bat, Bakunin doesn't pull any punches.
No, he doesn't.
He's like, I believe in materialism. And that's it. It's facts before ideas.
Wow.
It's not that ideas shape our world. It's that the material world shapes our thoughts.
Oh, so he's kind of like flipping the script on how we usually think about it.
Absolutely.
It's not about some grand idea shaping reality.
Yep.
It's about the actual stuff, the world.
Right.
What it's made of that determines what we think.
Exactly. And that's not just some like philosophical, abstract points. It's like the foundation for his whole critique of like everything.
Okay.
So Bakunin sees like human development as this natural process. It's shaped by like real world conditions, not some divine plan.
So he's starting to set the stage for rejecting traditional religion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He goes even further than just saying like, oh, there's no God. He's saying believing in God is harmful.
Why is that?
Well, imagine if there was like an all-powerful being running the show. Bakunin's like, there's no room for human freedom in that scenario.
Oh, wow.
We're stuck being servants in that situation.
Yeah, we're kind of stuck in this hierarchy.
Yes.
Without any control over our own lives.
Exactly. And that's where like his Garden of Eden interpretation gets really wild.
Okay, tell me about that.
So he paints Satan not as like the ultimate evil, but as a figure of liberation.
Wow.
He's the one encouraging knowledge, pushing back against blind obedience.
So he's like reframing that whole story
Totally.
to say that questioning authority is the first step to freedom.
You got it. And this connects to this idea he has about like three things that drive human progress.
Okay. What are they?
Animality, thought, and rebellion.
Yeah, okay. So can we break those down a little bit?
Sure.
Special animality, that sounds a little primal to some people.
So think about it this way. Animality, it's about our basic needs.
Yeah.
Our instincts.
Survival.
Right. Food, shelter, survival. All that ties into economics.
Okay.
Like the material conditions we got to deal with.
Yeah.
And then thought, that's like
our brain science.
Right. Our ability to kind of understand the world. And then rebellion, that's like the spark that ignites liberty.
So he's saying that going against the grain, that challenging the status quo, it's not a bad thing.
Not at all. It's actually good.
It's essential for progress.
It's kind of counterintuitive.
Absolutely. But Bakunin saw this like urge to rebel as like baked into human nature.
Oh, okay.
It's what pushes us to break free from like systems that are holding us back.
Yeah, to imagine new possibilities.
Right. It's not about chaos. It's about like pushing those boundaries and demanding more.
Okay, so we've got this foundation of materialism.
Yep.
This rejection of God as like this harmful idea. And then these three drivers of progress.
Right.
Where do the church and the state fit into all of this?
Okay, so for Bakunin, they're two sides of the same coin.
Okay.
Both of those institutions are all about control and exploiting people.
He's not holding back?
No, he's not. He even calls the state like the temporal branch of the church.
Right.
Like they're basically doing the same thing,
Yeah.
just in different parts of life.
Okay, so he's not just targeting religion. He's going after the whole power structure.
The whole thing.
But why are they so connected for him?
Because they both rely on this idea of like divinely ordained authority, whether it's a king saying he rules by God's grace or a government saying we uphold divine order.
Yeah.
It's all about keeping people obedient and subservient.
It's like using the fear of God or the promise of heaven to get people to accept their rule.
Exactly. And Bakunin gives all these examples from history about how the church gained power and wealth by exploiting people's beliefs.
Wow.
And then the state comes in and maintains that whole system.
Right.
So you have this cycle of oppression.
It keeps repeating itself.
Yeah, and it all comes back to those institutions of authority.
Okay, so we've got this connection between economic exploitation and these institutions of authority. So this brings us to the big question.
If we're rejecting the authority of God and the authority of the state, then what do we put in their place?
Right. If not them, then who
gets to decide?
Right. Like, where does real progress come from?
Yeah. If not these traditional sources of authority.
Exactly. What's the alternative?
Yeah.
So this is where Bakunin gets really interesting.
Okay.
He advocates for the absolute authority of science.
Hold on. Isn't that a little contradictory?
Yeah.
He just spent all this time railing against the church and the state, and now he's saying science should be in charge.
That's a good question. It's important to understand what he meant by authority of science.
Yeah.
He wasn't saying scientists should be like kings or dictators.
Okay.
He truly believed in the power of the scientific method, like observation, experimentation, reason.
Right.
That's what he saw as essential for progress.
So it's more about like having a scientific mindset, a critical approach to knowledge than just blindly following whatever scientists say.
Absolutely. Bakunin was wary of like anyone claiming they had like absolute knowledge or trying to force their beliefs on others, even scientists.
Right.
He thought that scientific knowledge should be for everyone.
Not just the elite.
Right. Not just a select few.
So like democratizing knowledge.
Exactly.
Empowering people to understand the world and make their own choices.
Yes. He believed that if people had scientific literacy, they could challenge dogma and fight injustice and build a better society.
That makes sense.
Yeah. He saw widespread understanding of science as key for liberation.
But can we go back to that idea of rebellion as one of the pillars of progress? We talked about how it's not about like chaos or destruction.
Right.
But it's about pushing boundaries and demanding something better.
Yeah.
How does that work alongside a scientific mindset?
Well, Bakunin saw rebellion as part of human nature. It's a driving force behind all kinds of innovation and progress.
Okay.
He believed that urge to question and to challenge is what prevents us from becoming complacent.
Oh.
Right? From accepting things that are bad for us.
Right.
Or unjust.
Okay. So it's not about throwing out all order and structure.
No.
It's about this drive we have. To push back against anything that limits our freedom and our potential.
Think about it, like scientific progress itself often comes from challenging old theories, asking new questions, exploring new territory. It's that same rebellious spirit that Bakunin saw as crucial for social progress.
So it's not just about individual acts of rebellion either, right?
Right.
He was a big believer in the power of collective action.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Bakunin believed individuals could only achieve so much on their own.
Right.
He saw real power in people coming together and demanding change together.
Right.
Remember, he even warned against what he called a government of savants?
Meaning?
He didn't want any group, even if they were well-intentioned and super smart, to have all the power.
So it's about harnessing the power of the people.
Yes.
That shared desire for a better world.
Exactly. But how do we translate these kind of abstract ideas into like a practical vision?
Right. Like, what does a Bakunin-inspired world look like?
Yeah.
How do you organize a society without those traditional structures of power?
So that's like the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And this is where Bakunin gets really radical.
Okay.
Remember his core principle, facts before ideas? He was really skeptical of utopian schemes.
Like those perfect blueprints for society. Yeah. So no top-down social engineering.
No.
Even if it comes from well-meaning revolutionaries.
Nope. Bakunin thought that real social change had to come from the ground up. He had a lot of faith in the wisdom of the people. And their creativity.
So he talked a lot about voluntary association and free federation.
Yeah.
What do you mean by those terms?
So imagine a world where individuals and communities freely choose to cooperate based on shared interests and goals instead of being forced into these rigid hierarchies dictated by the state. People get to decide how and with whom they collaborate.
It sounds really decentralized.
Yeah.
More like a network than a pyramid.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
Bakunin believed that people, when they're free from coercion, would naturally form networks of cooperation based on their needs and their aspirations.
So this free federation is basically these independent, self-governing units coming together to form larger networks based on mutual respect and goals.
Exactly.
Okay. So I could see how that might work for smaller communities. But how do you scale that up to a larger society?
That's where the voluntary association part comes in.
Okay.
So he imagined people freely choosing to join different associations based on their interests and skills and needs. So it could be like economic cooperatives, scientific societies, artistic collectives, any form of collaboration where people are coming together to achieve a common goal.
So it's about creating this mosaic of groups, all interconnected, each one contributing to the overall well-being of society, instead of relying on a single authority to manage everything.
It's a vision of a society built on mutual aid and solidarity, where power flows from the bottom up, not from the top down.
And it's a radical idea.
Yeah. But Bakunin pointed to historical examples, the medieval free cities and the Swiss communes, as like little glimpses of how decentralized self-governing communities could work.
Those are fascinating examples. But they are also much smaller scale than what we're talking about today. Could such a system actually work in a complex, interconnected world like ours?
That's the question Bakunin wrestled with. And it's a question that continues to challenge us today.
Yeah, it does?
Yeah. So we were talking about Bakunin and this idea of the people having the power. But he also really believed in science.
Yeah, the absolute authority of science.
Right. But at the same time, he didn't want people to just blindly follow scientists.
Yeah, it's a tough balance.
Yeah.
How do you have that reverence for science without creating a new elite? Like just replacing one authority with another?
It comes down to what he actually meant by that phrase. The authority of science. He wasn't saying scientists should be rulers. He believed in the power of the scientific method. Like using observation and experimentation and reason to understand the world.
So it's more about a way of thinking.
Exactly.
A critical approach to knowledge than just taking what scientists say as gospel.
Yeah, he didn't want anyone claiming to have absolute knowledge or trying to force their beliefs on others. And that included scientists.
So it all comes back to that, democratizing knowledge. Giving people the tools to understand the world and make their own choices.
He thought if everyone was scientifically literate, we could really challenge dogma and fight injustice and build a more equitable society.
Okay, so I'm starting to see how it all fits together, but we need to go back to that idea of rebellion. Being one of those three key pillars of progress, we said it's not about chaos. It's about pushing boundaries and demanding something better. How does that work alongside science?
Well, Bakunin saw that urge to rebel as just a part of human nature, this driving force behind innovation. It keeps us from getting complacent.
Oh, I see.
It keeps us questioning and challenging. And that prevents us from just accepting the status quo.
Especially when it's harmful or unjust.
Exactly.
So it's not about throwing out all order and structure. It's about recognizing that we have this drive to push back against limitations.
Yeah, think about it. A lot of scientific progress comes from challenging old theories, asking new questions, exploring uncharted territory. It's that same spirit.
So he saw that as necessary for social progress as well.
Exactly.
And it's not just individual acts either. He was really into collective action.
Yeah, Bakunin was all about collective action. He thought individuals could only do so much alone.
Yeah, you need that collective power to really make a difference.
And he even cautioned against that idea of a government of savants.
Meaning?
He didn't want any group, no matter how smart or well-intentioned, to hold all the power.
So even if their ideas were based in reason and science, he didn't want them dictating everything.
He wanted the power to come from the people.
Okay, so it's about harnessing that collective energy. That shared desire for a better world.
Exactly.
But how do you actually do that?
Right.
Like, how do you translate these abstract ideas into a concrete vision for society?
Yeah, what does that world look like?
Yeah, how do you actually organize a society without those traditional power structures?
That's the big question. Yeah.
And it's where Bakunin really goes off the beaten path.
Okay.
Remember his motto?
Facts before ideas.
Facts before ideas. He was super skeptical of those big utopian schemes.
It's like those blueprints for the perfect society.
Exactly.
So no top-down social engineering.
No way.
Even from revolutionaries?
Nope. He thought true change had to come from the ground up.
Okay, so from the people.
From the people. He had a lot of faith in people's wisdom and their creativity.
Okay, and this is where those terms come in voluntary association and free federation.
What did he mean by that?
Yeah.
So picture this.
Okay.
A world where people and communities can freely choose to cooperate based on their shared goals and interests.
Yeah.
Instead of being forced into these rigid hierarchies by the state, people decide how and with whom they want to work together.
So it's much more decentralized.
So more like a network than a pyramid.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
He thought when people are free from force, they naturally build networks of cooperation.
Based on what they need.
And what they want to achieve.
And that's what he called free federation.
Free federation. Independent groups coming together into larger networks based on mutual respect and shared goals.
I can kind of see that working on a small scale.
Yeah.
But how do you make that work for a whole society?
Right. That's where voluntary association comes in.
Go ahead.
So he thought people would choose to join different groups and associations based on their interests and needs.
Like
economic cooperatives, scientific societies, art collectives, any kind of collaboration where people come together for a common purpose.
So it's like a whole web of interconnected groups contributing to the well-being of everyone.
Right.
Instead of relying on one central authority.
He envisioned a society built on mutual aid and solidarity where power comes from below, not imposed from above.
And it's a radical idea.
But he pointed to examples like the medieval free cities and those Swiss communes as these little glimpses of how decentralized communities could function.
Those are fascinating. But they were also much smaller scale.
Yeah, of course.
Than our world today.
Right.
So could it really work in our complex global society?
That's the question he struggled with.
Yeah.
And it's one we're still grappling with.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
So we're left with this big question. Could Bakunin's ideas actually work in our world today?
It is a tough one.
It sounds amazing on paper.
Yeah.
But is it just too idealistic?
Well, it's definitely a challenge to imagine like shifting away from the systems we're so used to. But Bakunin believed in the power of humans to cooperate. He thought that potential was much greater than we realized.
And he saw examples of it throughout history.
Oh, yeah.
Not just in those smaller communities, but also in those moments where people rise up together.
Yeah, those moments of collective action.
Exactly.
Those are key.
So he saw those moments as proof that people can self-organize and create change without needing someone to tell them what to do.
Exactly. Like, think about revolutions, social movements, even community initiatives. They often start with people coming together, recognizing they have a common goal and taking action.
Without waiting for permission.
Right.
From the powers that be.
Exactly. It's that spirit of rebellion.
Yeah. But it's channeled into something positive.
Right. It's not just tearing things down. It's about building something better.
And for Bakunin, the key was those networks, voluntary association, free federation.
Yeah, creating a society where people have the power to make decisions about their own lives.
So instead of a small group of elites making decisions for everyone, you have all these interconnected groups.
Yeah.
Each one focused on a specific area, but working together for the good of the whole.
Exactly. It's like a society that's always changing.
Yeah.
Adapting and responding to people's needs.
With power distributed, knowledge shared, and everyone having a voice.
That was his vision.
It's a radical departure from how things work now.
It is.
But it's also pretty inspiring.
Yeah.
It makes you rethink what's possible and believe in the power of people to work together for a better world.
Absolutely.
So to sum it all up,
okay,
what are the key takeaways for our listeners?
Well, Bakunin's work is a call to action. He's saying, we're not just pawns in some game.
Right.
We have the power to shape our own destinies.
Yeah.
To fight injustice and create a world that aligns with our values.
It's about questioning everything.
Yes.
Not taking anything for granted. And always pushing for better.
And remember, real progress doesn't come from waiting for someone else to fix things.
We have to do it ourselves.
It comes from taking action, embracing that rebellious spirit, and working together to build a world where everyone is truly free.
It's about finding those moments where we can make a difference.
Yeah.
Where our unique skills and perspectives can contribute to something bigger.
So keep questioning, keep learning, and keep pushing.
Maybe Bakunin's dream isn't so impossible after all.
Maybe not.
So that wraps up our deep dive into the mind of Mikhail Bakunin.
Hope you enjoyed it.
We hope you found it insightful and thought-provoking.
Yeah.
And maybe even a little bit inspiring.
Definitely.
Until next time. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.